Paige here. It's been a while, and I'll explain why. Today is Wednesday, May 7th, 2025, and I'm not sure how long it's been since I posted, but it's been at least a couple weeks. Reason being, I made an offer on a small little home. Escrow opened April 25th and started doing my due diligence, had a home inspection, all the different things you do. And in the process, so once escrow opens, you have 17, and this is California. I don't know if it's the same in every state, but here you have 17 days to change your mind, 17 calendar days, not 17 business days. So in that time, you've got to, get all your inspections and figure out what's what. And long story short, I have a very strong suspicion that there is a serious black mold problem in areas that we cannot get to without tearing things apart, which isn't going to happen. before I would have owned it, so without knowing what all I would be getting into, I just decided it doesn't feel right enough to move forward with it. A longtime friend of my mom and myself, she was very close to my mom, and she actually helped me put on my mom's memorial. So she wants to learn to crochet. So yesterday I left her a voicemail saying, come on up, let's hang out. I can teach you how to crochet. I don't really have a lot going on. Yesterday I didn't have work or anything. And I was going to call her back and say, you know what? Don't come up. It's cold. It's too cold. But she ended up calling me, and we talked, and I wasn't gonna say anything about the thing, about making an offer on a place, because I didn't know what was gonna happen. I haven't been telling very many people, just because it wasn't a done deal yet. But a little voice told me, and I think it was my mom told me, tell her. So I told her, and she talked me through the big picture of the thing and what my concerns were, and she brought me back down to reality, and I'm so relieved. I decided to back out. I just wasn't feeling good enough about it, and my main motivation for continuing was fear of missing out on having a little place. But there were just way too many concerns. I'm a lifelong asthmatic with a known allergy to mold. There was some visible black mold, but in the space above the ceiling, so the roof had leaked enough to make the ceiling bow. So it definitely needed a new roof. And I was going to ask for a reduction in the price, to cover that. But that's where I suspect there's a serious mold issue, and there would have been no way to find out until after I owned the place. So that's just too much of a gamble yeah, so I, my friend, she, we talked about it, and her main thing was just like, when you have that much doubt, you should, my saying is, when in doubt, opt out. But her saying, she said, when you have doubt like that, you shouldn't do it. And she got me seriously thinking about backing out, and I was able to, then my mentality went back to continuing van life for now, because what happened was, on Easter Sunday, we were all at my sister's. My sister hosts, family gatherings. She has a beautiful home and she loves to host, which I'm so grateful for. So we were all over there, and I went to the restroom, and while there, I opened up my email, and up popped this listing. And it just was, perfect. I was like, oh my goodness. So I jumped on it after we were done with our gathering. I drove by, and I was still interested. The next day I contacted the realtor. She didn't get back to me, but she's a busy realtor. So I had to call her again, and she finally, answered and set up a showing for Tuesday. So let's see, Easter was the 20th. Spoke on the phone with the realtor on the 21st, and on the 22nd is when my sister and I asked my sister to come with me. We looked at the place. I was still interested. So we worked out the documentation and the offer, and then you have to put earnest money down that you get back if you back out within the 17 days. So escrow opened on Friday, the 25th. Then we scheduled inspection. The inspection occurred on Tuesday, the 29th. He found a lot of concerns. The two main ones were the roof and the plumbing. The other things were not too serious, wouldn't be expensive to fix, that kind of thing. But the two main ones were the roof, and the plumbing worked, but it had been fixed and repaired by a do-it-yourselfer who didn't know enough about code compliant plumbing, and so there was a mixture of materials being used in the piping and just things like that. So those were the two main things I was going to ask for credits for on the sale price. And then every time we went, all the windows had been open. The seller had opened up all the windows, and we could still smell a musty smell. And then the disclosures. So one of the documents that you get during escrow is disclosures from the seller. And I went over the disclosures. And just based on that, and I'm a woman of faith. I pray for guidance, on especially the big stuff, but for everything really. But, I've been praying for guidance, and I literally feel like a voice, not an audible voice, but just I got the strong feeling, think about that musty smell, the fact that the seller did disclose that the roof leaked enough to bow the ceiling. Yeah, don't ignore that. So yeah, I got a quote for removing the mold just on the top side of the ceiling. That was a lot of money. And that wasn't counting what if the mold got into the walls, which my friend I talked to on the phone yesterday, she's the one that pointed out it could be down in the walls. It could be a lot more places than just the ceiling. And I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. And she just helped me. She spoke reason, you know, and just helped me calm down, you know, on the whole thing. And I just was feeling more and more relief at the idea of going back to, you know, before Easter Sunday, when I went to the bathroom at my sister's, I was, you know, I was doing van life still indefinitely in my mind. Like, you know, this, I hadn't seen the listing yet. You know, I was looking forward to continuing to decorate. So the very back, so I've been decorating, but I haven't, see how the back doors, let's see my cat, she loves to nap on my bed when I make the bed. And I think I know why cats prefer napping on a bed that's made. It's because they feel safer, because they know they're visible. If the bed isn't made and the blankets are all bunched up and everything, she will not nap on there. But when it's flat and smooth like that, she loves. My other cat that I had, same thing. Anyway, side note, but anyway, see how the inside of the back doors are all white? I haven't made it back there decorating wise. So that's what I was looking forward to this summer, getting that decorated, and crocheting up kind of a lacy thing with that luxury yarn, you know. And my plan had been, if I had bought the little house, my plan was to keep the van, so that, because one of my jobs, those shifts are all kind of in a row, day back to back. So, and that's in a different town. So my plan was to use the van to stay down there for the 2 nights a week, so that I can work those shifts and then come back up. My other client is my nephew. He's up in the town where I live, where the little house is. But, you know, it kind of like, it was like, well, decorating isn't, you know, priority anymore if I'm going to, you know, be having this little house and everything. So anyway, I think I'm getting sidetracked here. But anyway, now that I've decided to back out, at this point, I've signed the cancellation documents. And at this point, I wait for a check in the mail for the earnest money. Get the earnest money back. I'm out the cost to pay a home inspector to come inspect the home. Yeah. House shopping has its expenses, and I don't know if there's anything else, you know. I don't know if I'm going to get all of the earnest money back. No one has said I wouldn't, but anyway. Okay. So yeah, so my mind has not been, I've been crocheting, but my mind has not been on making videos, because, you know, for one thing, I was just waiting to see what was going to happen, you know. My thought was, if I do buy the place, then my next video would be huge news, you know, van life is changing some, but, yeah. So that's what the situation is. The 17 days would have been over Monday, the 12th. So I am within the 17 days. And then I go to Omaha next week, for a few days for my daughter, see my daughter. She's graduating. She's graduating college. So, yeah. But I feel like I can get back to life as usual. And it's quite a relief. Yeah. So that's what's been going on. So crochet-wise, so I have a friend who, I think I might have mentioned this in the past, but I have a friend who, she does some charity crochet, some volunteer crochet for the foster program in our region. So what she does is she gets a yard and a half of fleece. So fleece comes in like the wide widths, 55 to 60 inches wide. So then a yard and a half is what, 36 plus 18, 54 inches, right? Yeah. Yeah, 50, so it's 54 by 54, or 50, 55 by 60, around in there. And then she has, and then so there's a thing called a skip stitch. It's a rotary cutting blade where you can run it along like an inch in from the edge, and it cuts a little slit every quarter of an inch, I think. And that way you can crochet a border on the edge of the fleece. So I did one of those this week. I didn't think to take a picture or I gave it back to her. I think I dropped it off last night. Yeah. But so I did that. And then I've been working on, so my Decade Divas project, I would say it's like 80% done. It was done, but I decided to redo part of it, and so that's why it's not completely done, because I'm starting over on part of it and redoing that. But that requires counting and paying attention and making notes and keeping track and using stitch marker and blah blah blah. So I don't bring that to work. There are times at work, not with my nephew, but, well, sometimes with my nephew, but my other job, where I can do some crochet if I've gotten all the chores done, if I've given out the medications, if I've cooked the meal and helped with the bathing, and, you know, there's nothing left to do, then I will, you know, do some crocheting. But I don't bring my Decade Divas project for that. I was in the beginning, but now this part that I'm working on requires counting and measuring and things like that. So I haven't worked on that in a while because my head's just not been there. But what I have been working on, and I've talked about this way back, so I am making little mini granny squares. These are, the colors are determined by the high temperature of the day. So here. Lots of ends, but I don't mind ends. I like weaving in ends and sewing together. Not a problem for me. 2024, every day I wrote down the high temperature. And each round is one day. So like this orange is one day. The next day is this light blue. And the third day is the purple. But you know, they're all different. And initially it was going to be a wall hanging, but I don't have room for a wall hanging. What I'm using is almost all of these colors. The only colors from the Karen Little Crafties that I'm not using are white, black, the white, black, I think this kind of wine color, and this yellow. I like this yellow better. So I'm not using this yellow, white, black, the wine color, and the darkest blue. 1, 2, 3. So there's 5 colors I'm not using. All the other colors I'm using. So I've been working on that. I'm using, it's a, this yarn is a, well, it says it's a 4, but it's a thin 4. And I'm using a 2mm crochet hook, steel crochet hook. The winter temperatures are more like there's red, mustard, pine, purple is kind of in between there. And then the hotter temperatures, lime, light blue, medium blue, pink is like really hot. Where's the pink? Is this the pink? Really, really hot, like over 100 degrees. We actually didn't have too many of those days this last summer. Brown is a super hot day. There's not a lot of brown. Like we're talking, you know, 100, 110 and above, that kind of thing. We didn't get many of those days. Lavender, I think, is one of the hotter days. I only have the rest. So, okay. So, these squares are like September, October. So I'm down to, I'm somewhere in October. And so once I get them all done, I'm probably going to make either a, I don't know if you recall, behind this pillow here, there's an unattractive looking padded insulated windshield shade that I don't use because I don't need one that thick and insulated, but I want padding at the end of the bed there, between my feet and the metal inside wall of the van. But so I'm thinking of making, you know, a funky, colorful, kind of groovy cover for that, or some throw pillows, you know, just something like that. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on there. Is there anything else? I'm just working on those 3 things. The foster program blanket edging, the Decade Divas project, which I haven't really worked on too much the last couple weeks, and then the temperature granny squares, right? I think that's it. I feel like I don't know if I talked about it, but this, so I have a little raised kind of landing space for my phone. There's a bunch of stuff on it right here. This is an aluminum pie tin, and I've got it attached to a water bottle that I yarn bombed, and that's in a can that's in a magnetic drink holder. But that there, it used to be a paint palette, so it's got some acrylic paint stuck to it that is just too much work to scrape it off. So this, I crocheted this, it fits perfectly. This is all of the little mini skein that came in the Twice Sheared Sheep Advent box from last Christmas. We got a little skein of, I believe this is wool, merino wool. And then there's also a little hank of some other wool, but I haven't used that yet. But my 5-year-old granddaughter, she saw this and asked if she could have it for her little dollies and dollhouse type stuff. And I said, well, I can make you one because I use this for this. And so I made her one. I didn't take a picture of it, using some of the what's that stuff called? It's what I use to crochet the bucket hat that I ended up giving her. She loves it. The blue and orange bucket hat. What's that yarn called? It's a chain spun yarn. Oh my goodness. Cupcakes, something cupcakes or something like that. I'm drawing a blank. Pink, yellow, orange. You know, I tried to make it colorful like this, and she loves it. Gave that to her like a week or so ago, but the last 2 weeks have been just a mental, like, escrow, possibly buying a little house type of thing. Yeah. So I'm still adjusting mentally to the idea that that's not going to happen and that I'm continuing full-time van life for now. But yeah, so that's why you haven't seen me in a while. But I wanted to jump on, post an update, and say hi. And yeah, just let you guys know what's going on and what I've been crocheting. Today I tutor my nephew later. One of the things we do is oh, that reminds me. Okay, sorry. One of the things we do is we go to a horse farm and he feeds apples to the horses. We have permission, of course. And that's on Wednesdays. So we do that first, and then we go back to his house and do all kinds of things. He loves doing math. He's reading Harry Potter out loud to me. He does crossword puzzles for vocabulary words. We do jigsaw puzzles. He's doing Lego. He's building Lego things. He's actually really good at that. We recently discovered, because the manual for their kits, it's really just pictures, you know, which he can read fine. But yeah, he actually, I'm not even allowed to turn the page of the manual. Like, he is having so much fun. And the current Lego kit that he's working on, he received it for Christmas, is the Harry Potter sorting hat. It actually moves. It has a voice thing, like, you know, to tell you what house you're sorted into, that kind of thing. So we've been working on that. Yeah, so that's what's happening. I think that's all I wanted to say. Yeah. So thanks for watching. This is a long one. But it's been a while. I had kind of a lot to catch you guys up on. And I hope you're having a great day or night. And that you're having fun crocheting or knitting. And I will catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.